Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Youngblood. Enjoy the movie. Today is 19-year-old Jesse Ryan's first day in jail. He's been locked up for 6 months, but if he's lucky, he'll be out in 3. There aren't many like him here. He's surrounded by aggressive muzzies, but at least they put him in the same cell with another kid. A kid who cowered in a corner when he saw his roommate. Jesse keeps meeting eyes with the bearded inmate, the authority figure, Brandon Lynch. Jesse's cellmates are groped and dragged off to a secluded spot by 3 creepy cons. One day Jesse passed Brendan playing chess and decided to get smart by checkmating him in 3 moves. Jesse has read about the bandit and knows his story. Just then Jesse's neighbor ran by, pulling up his pants. During the night, the poor guy started sharpening his toothbrush. In the dining room, he's waiting for another attack, but Jesse realizes the guy doesn't stand a chance, so he provokes a fight with him. The bullfighter appreciates his savvy Jesse, ditched alone in the blazing sun. When he got out, Brendan advised him to keep his nose out of other people's business, alluding to the trio that had been kicking his neighbor's yard. The next morning, Jesse was awakened by strange sounds. Blood was gushing from his neighbor's throat. He couldn't take the abuse any longer. For Jesse, this is a real tragedy, because Beardy had hinted that he would be their new toy. Now it was his turn to do the sharpening. Jesse looks around and heads for the showers. 3 convicts chase him, but Brandon and his gang block their way and order them to get the hell out of here. The authority figure convinces the kid that a toothbrush won't help him, unlike him, but for that Jesse will help him escape later. Brandon is 20 years old, and after he helps Jesse, he'll be 25. The guy's got time to think, but there's really no options. At the first opportunity, the rapists drag Jesse into the bathroom, lay him on the floor, and pull down his pants. But Brandon and his men help the guy out again. They beat up all 3 of them, and threw the ringleader from the 2nd floor head down, sending him to the other world. 6 months later Jesse was released. He immediately came to the criminal boss Seema, with whom Brandon played chess by correspondence. Jesse was handed a suitcase and put in a luxurious beachfront apartment. The suitcase contained several passports for Brendan, clothes, and a gun. A girl named Tasha came to Jesse and handed over a cell phone and several wads of cash from Sam. Next, Jesse was sent to some patched-up guy who lives in a trailer. He keeps a whole arsenal of assault rifles, a machine gun, and even an RPG in his garage. Private Wilson let Jesse shoot at the local range and sold him the guns he needed. One day the phone rang. Sam informed him that there was a helicopter ride somewhere tomorrow. Jesse paid for a sightseeing flight and already in the sky pointed an MP5 at the pilot. He ordered the man to turn off the radio and fly to certain coordinates. At the same time, Brendan at the prison retrieved the shiv he had prepared and handed it to Sterile. They took the warden hostage and forced the guards to open the door to the courtyard. Now the escapees need to wait for the helicopter, and Jesse didn't let them down. When the guards ran out into the yard, the guy opened fire on them and let Brandon run to the helicopter. He was already covering Sterile and Merv. All 3 managed to make their escape. Jesse had left his newly purchased car in a vacant lot. The pilot was tied up and left by the helicopter. The radio reports that 2 bank robbers and a rapist who attacked a schoolgirl have escaped from prison. Brandon and Sterla didn't know this, so the authority figure dragged the fat man out of the car and beat him severely. Now Murphy was on his own. He shouldn't have lied. They wouldn't do business with the likes of him. Brendan's belongings were in the suitcase. He shaved and went to Sam's house with his accomplices. He wants the robber to go straight to work and steal the gold bars, straight from the smelter. At the party, Jesse keeps an eye on Tasha, trying to get the girl to like him. When Josh, Sam's nephew, comes over, they have a conflict and Josh pushes Jess into the pool. Turns out he can't swim and Tasha had to rescue him. After the party, she gives her new buddy a ride in her car and drives him to the restaurant. She convinces the guy she's not sleeping with the boss. Sam found her through an ad and promised that by working for him, Tasha would get an Australian passport, but she was tricked. Too bad she can't escape. The previous girl was burned after such an attempt. Jesse was in for a serious talk in the morning. If he and the girl had anything going on, they would have been fed to the sharks by now. If Jesse kept thinking with his dick, he'd be off the team. Brendan demanded that they find a new place to live that would be easier to escape from if the cops showed up. Together with Jesse, they came to the quarry, where the robbery will take place. The guy will have to crawl into a certain room through the ventilation, take the workers at gunpoint, and open the main entrance for the rest. It is important that no one press the panic button. Now they need to find the driver. The bandits arrived at the racetrack, where Brandon met up with an old acquaintance, Chris. With the whole team assembled, Brandon devised a plan and assigned roles. Jesse and Josh got into another fight and had to be separated. In the club where Tasha works, she was harassed by visitors. Jesse stood up for the girl. Despite the danger, they agreed to meet after work on the beach. Tasha topless entered the water, lured into the sea and her young friend, so the girl decided to teach him to swim. Jesse told that as a child his alcoholic father pushed him off the boat and he almost died. Tasha, after such a sad story, remained only to give herself to the guy right in the water. In the morning, the girl gave Jesse an amulet for good luck. The guy plans that after the robbery he will get his share and they will run away together with Tasha. Jesse is almost too late. Sterla admits that he trusts Brandon unconditionally. He is a cool specialist and also brings good luck. He saved him from 3 life sentences. The robbers disguised themselves as workers, showing paper and passes. They penetrated the territory of the quarry. Now everything is in the hands of Jesse. As he crawled along the vent, Brendan took out the security camera. Jesse stopped and removed the grate over the gold smelting room. Now they have to wait for the workday. Sam anticipated that the rookie would suggest that Tasha run away with him. She would lie to her boss about not sleeping with the kid because it was too dangerous. Morning comes. Brandon instructs the crew to shoot the workers in the legs if they start being heroes. The robbers break into the surveillance station and knock out the guard. Brandon took all the discs with the recordings and pulled the guns out of the bag. Now Jesse's exit. He pulled a monkey mask over his head and jumped down. The guy scared the workmen and forced them to open the door. The robbers went inside and forced some of the workers to start smelting gold. Josh was supposed to be near the furnace, but he was left to watch the hostages. He got nervous and shot one man in the leg. Brandon broke the man's nose with the butt of his gun and put a tourniquet on the wounded man. The police arrived. All the bullion was put into a bag. The robbers surrounded themselves with a crowd of workers and went outside. Brendan opened fire on the police cars. Here Chris rushed in at speed and the bandits got into a wheelbarrow. Driving away, Brendan continued shooting. The cops opened fire as well. They managed to wound Sterlo in the stomach. The robbers were chased. Brendan fired at the cop's car until he ran out of bullets. Sterlo is bleeding and crying. He asks to give his share to his wife. The bandit died in Jesse's arms. With a feint, Chris got rid of the tail and the bandits were able to escape to safety. They arrived at the rendezvous point with Sam. The nephew immediately complained about Brandon, even though it was his actions that caused the problems. Sam took the ingots to cut them into pieces. In the evening, he would give the robber his share. Brendan doused the car with gasoline and set it on fire with his buddy Sterla. The car flew off a cliff and into a body of water. As agreed, Tasha packed her things, but Sam's man came to her instead of Jesse. He saw the suitcase, took off his belt and hit Tasha in the face with it. She tried to run away, but the man started throwing her all over the apartment. He started to strangle the girl with a wire, but got hit on the head with an iron. There was no turning back, so Tasha went on the run. She sent a text message and warned the burglars that Sam had set them up. They needed to run. They did, and the house is surrounded on all sides by SWAT teams. Brendan had a stash of cash in the cemetery. He's gonna get his share by force. Tasha wandered around town until she got a text message from Jesse. He got her a train ticket. That's where they met. The trio arrived in Melbourne. Sam is going to exchange the gold for money. They found and paid a man who knows where the exchange will take place. The national channel showed pictures of Brandon and Jesse as the prime suspects in a recent robbery. A repeat offender threw a bag at Tasha and ordered him to send it to Sterla's wife, who refused, and Brendan punched her in the face. Jesse lunged at him, but the thug easily snapped the kid up. Tasha walked away. Jesse wanted to run after her, but Brendan wouldn't let him. Tasha bought some food and went back to the apartment, followed by the killer that Sam had hired. She overheard Brendan coaxing Jesse to give her some dough and let her go free. The girl escapes again. This time Jesse catches up with her, and the hitman takes advantage of the confusion and easily enters the apartment. Tasha doesn't believe that the robber will give Jesse the money. He's just a convenient sidekick for him to pin all the shit on. Jesse just sees him as the father he's been missing. Meanwhile, Brand's trickster told Wayne's hitman about the gold and offered to get a lot more than he'd be paid to kill him. After a little thought, Jesse decided to go back to Brand. He pulled a gun on him and then gave the gun to his young friend. They arrived at the place where the gold would be exchanged for money. Sam gave this task to his nephew, and suddenly Wayne appeared in his car and crashed into the bandit's car at speed. They thought it was a setup and shot each other. Josh was dragged out of the car and sat on the table. He wouldn't admit where the gold was hidden, so Brandon took a hammer in his hands. However, Wayne felt like sticking Josh in the refrigerator, so they did just that. Josh still won't give up, but the gun at his head does convince him to tell them where the suitcases of gold are hidden. Now they need to get out of the country, but first they have to finish one job. Brendan goes to Sam and shoots him. The robbers stopped the motels and hid the suitcases under the bed. Jesse asked the concierge to take some mail to another room. Together with Brendan, they went to buy a local geezer's yacht to sail it out of Australia. Recidivi's paranoid. He demands that the kid is always in his sights, even when he's showering. Brendan didn't even sleep a wink during the night. At dawn, they loaded the groceries onto the boat. When Jesse came out on deck, he saw Brendan pointing a gun at him again. He offers the kid to settle for half of the bullion. That is 1/12 of their loot, but Jesse says that Brendan doesn't have any more gold, and indeed he found some iron in the suitcase. The phone rings and Tasha speaks to him on the other end. In the letter, Jesse left her a room key. The girl had been following them all along and had checked into the same motel. She snuck into the room and took the bars, and if Brendan wants half, he'll let Jesse live and do as they say. But the thug jumped Jesse and threw him in the water. He forgot the guy couldn't swim and didn't hesitate to save him. Jesse said he'd call and let him know where Brendan could find his half of the money. Tom had no choice but to let the guy go. Tasha was waiting for him on the shore. Brendan went to the local laundromat and waited for his clothes to be washed. Then he noticed that it was too quiet. Brendan was recognized by the woman at the entrance and notified the police. He went outside with his hands up. A SWAT team surrounded him from all sides and laid him face down on the pavement. Jesse hid Brendan's share of the stash in a grave, in which they knew only the two of them, and forwarded a letter of instruction to his accomplice. Though it was unlikely Brendan would ever be able to use his millions,